It's a new year and Pokemon Go has so many new things going on, so I figured I'd help you out by giving you the top 25 tips for Pokemon Go 2025. Like tip number 1, stay updated. Now this seems obvious, but it's very important. Every year Pokemon Go seems to bring out more events, more frequent in-game releases, more exclusive things to hunt, and this year we're gonna have something new to do or hunt like literally every single week and weekend. It's gonna be a busy year of Pokemon Go. In-game, in the Today tab, hit your research button and scroll down. Pokemon Go will show you under Happening Now what current events are going on, but that won't show you what's coming up, which can be a lot. Technically, if you go to your other research tab, your special timed research tab, and scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see what event is coming next. But really the best way to just kind of know what's going on with Pokemon Go is by following specific websites and accounts and just understanding the update cycle. And the best way, a little bit biased in my opinion, is being subscribed to this YouTube channel, and we're almost at 3 mil subs, which is crazy. That's the goal for this year. Subscribe if you haven't. Also, we have a really large Discord community, which I'll leave linked in the description below, which is constantly updated with whatever the newest event and guides are. You can use it for finding remote raid lobbies, PvP strategy, pretty much anything Pokemon Go related in the Discord. Oh, and one more tip. LeakDuck is probably one of the most consistent, best resources for Pokemon Go updates and news, both their website and their Twitter. Not sponsored, just good friends. Tip 2, weekly events. This is another one where if you've played the game for a while, it might sound obvious, but there was a new weekly event recently introduced in 2024 called Max Mondays, where every Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. local time, Max raids feature one specific Dynamax Pokemon. And for a couple of weeks, these events had the first ever legendary Dynamax raid bosses, so they're really good events to stay updated on and to play. Also, every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. is Spotlight Hour, where one single Pokemon spawns everywhere and good chance of getting it shiny. And then there's also always some sort of in-game bonus like 2 times Stardust, 2 times Catch XP, 2 times Evolution XP. Great chance at some random shinies and a great way to just take advantage of in-game bonuses. Then every Wednesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. local time is Raid Hour, where one specific legendary spawns in all of the raids. It's a great chance to get the legendary. And who knows, we might even have more weekly events in the future. Thursdays and Fridays are open on the schedule so far. So again, make sure to stay updated with the news. Now, we seem to be in a Raid Shadow Legends ad. Well, since we're here, let me give you $60 in free stuff. But it's not lasting long, because right now Raid is giving new people who sign up and play Supreme Galek, one of the best new starter Supreme champions, which also makes a perfect match with Zargala because they're both from the Orc faction. Even cooler are all of the amazing updates that Raid Shadow Legends has gotten recently that has brought a ton of people back into the game, like background battles, playability on PC, Mac, and mobile, and Alice's Adventures, which is a huge global event featuring 5 new legendary champions inspired by Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And you can get the legendary champion Alice the Wanderer for free, along with a ton of other free items just for logging onto Raid for 14 different days. But to do this, you have to start by March 26th, which is soon. So start soon, my friend. But it's not hard to do at all, which is actually one of my favorite things about Raid Shadow Legends, is how easy it is to just pop the game open and play, especially when you're out and about and traveling around. That's the best. Just pop out your phone, open the game, hit a dungeon or 2, get some sick rewards, hop off. It's easy, baby. Even easier, though, is getting literal truckloads in value and free stuff by using my link down in the description below. Again, $60 in free things, including Zargala W, 600k silver, 6 void mid potions, 6 rare skill tomes, and 6 rank 3 chicken just for signing up and registering. Again, link in the description. And once you hit level 25, you get Rector Drath, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 day XP booster, and 1 skill tome epic. A lot of stuff. And if you use promo code Supreme6, you can get the free void legendary champion Supreme Galek, which is going to help you fly through quests and challenges and level up even faster. So use the link down in the description to download Raid, and once you do, join my clan, which is on screen, and I'll see you in there. Thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for today's sponsor. Back to the video. Okay, next tip. Number 3. Dynamax raids. Dynamax and Gigantamax raids were introduced back in 2024 and have become a really popular part of the game. It's kind of like starting all over again, since you can only use Pokemon in Dynamax and Gigantamax raids that you've caught from Dynamax and Gigantamax raids. And they're great for a couple of reasons. They're available all day and they're in the same location for multiple days, which makes it easier to plan around and raid. Harder bosses and Gigantamax bosses do require real strategy to take down, which makes them much more challenging and fun than normal raids. If your raid messes up or you lose, your max particles are refunded so you can try again, unlike raid passes where you lose them. For rural players, there are typically a good amount of Dynamax raids around, unlike regular raids, and they give pretty solid XP and Stardust bonuses for defeating. Overall, great feature. Tip 4, save extra large and extra small Pokemon. This is something that most people overlook, including myself, But you shouldn't, and here's why. Showcases were introduced into Pokemon Go back in 2023, and they weren't really that popular. But they were improved and are one of the best ways to get premium items for free, along with like very good amounts of XP and Stardust, so like super useful and worth doing, and they're very passive. You literally just put a Pokemon in there and wait for the thing to end and then collect your rewards and you're done. Plus, if you get the Platinum Medal for the Showcase badge, which is very hard to do, you'll get an encounter with one of the rarest Pokemon in the entire game, Professor Pikachu, which I think can be shiny, which is like ridiculously rare. Tip 5, trade. If you have someone like a spouse or a partner or a friend or anybody nearby who plays a lot, you should be trading with them every day if you can. Trading is an amazing way to earn extra candies, XL candies, and it also re-rolls your IVs, which means if you have a very bad IV Pokemon and you trade it, it could turn into a 100% IV Pokemon, which is crazy. And you can get lucky Pokemon, which gives even higher IVs to the Pokemon that you're getting. Plus they're lucky, it's like half Stardust to power up, really nice. Plus, which we'll talk about later, lucky trades are one of the best ways to get a Shundo in Pokemon Go, which is why it's super important to get best friends with the people that you play with so that you can get those lucky trades in and just make your gameplay experience that much better. Tip 6, Adventure Sync. This cheeky little feature you can turn on in your settings and it literally kind of plays the game for you while you're offline. Now, it does track your data while the game's not open, so like there's that part. But the nice thing is that it tracks your distance while you're walking and when the app is closed. And that counts towards things like egg hatches, buddy candy progress. So if you're like me and you're addicted to buying egg incubators, it's great because you don't have to have the game open 24/7 in order to hatch your eggs. You just have Adventure Sync on and go about your day. And also if you're walking a specific Pokemon because you really need candies for it, Adventure Sync can literally be a game changer. Tip 7, Mega Evolutions. Now, I've talked about Mega Pokemon for literal years in every single tips and tricks video I've ever made, and there's a reason why. Okay, so Mega Pokemon have Mega levels, which are basically bonuses you unlock by Mega Evolving. So once you get your Mega to max level, it gets bonuses like more candy and XL candy per catch, more XP per catch, higher damage in raids, specifically for the Pokemon of the same typing as your Mega. So for example, if it's Charmander Community Day, you can Mega Evolve a Mega Charizard and get more XP and candy for the Charmanders that you're catching, which includes XL candy, which can be an absolute cheat code because that is one of the biggest things in the game, XL candy, and this is the best way to grind it. Which brings us to tip number 8, XL candy. XLs are extremely useful for a couple of reasons and not just to power Pokemon up. But obviously, powering Pokemon beyond level 40, so from 40 to 50, you need to use XL candy, which is very useful and like the #1 use case in the game. And if you want to truly maxed out Pokemon to like level 50, you need nearly 300 XL candies to do it. So you kind of need a lot, and you're going to have to do that on your way to level 50 as like your trainer level, because at level 47, it requires you to power up 3 Pokemon to level 50. And also there's like a ton of Platinum Medals that you need to get on your way to level 50, and this could be one of them, so super important to do. And if you're into Dynamax or Gigantamax raids, it requires XL candies to basically power up the moves, like your Dynamax moves, because each Dynamax Pokemon or Gigantamax Pokemon has 3 main moves. And to power each move up, it requires both max particles and candy from that Pokemon. Then once you get to the higher levels of the moves, it starts requiring XL candy to power up. And this could be really, really expensive to do, especially if you don't have many XLs to spare. And for the Gigantamax raids that like require a lot of strategy, having these max level Dynamax moves or Gigantamax moves can be like the difference between winning and losing. And the best ways to get XL candy is simply just by catching Pokemon, especially if you have a max level Mega when you're out catching Pokemon of like the same typing as the Mega. And you especially want to do this on days like Community Day, which brings us to tip number 9, Community Day. Community Day events have been around for years, but over the past few, they've changed and have gotten much better. You see, old Community Day events were simple. There was one featured Pokemon and one bonus like double XP. But now every single comm day has tons of bonuses, including an extra special trade, tier 4 raids that extend the Community Day hours until later in the evening, more XL and regular candies, 3-hour incense and lures. These are really good events to play even if you don't care about whatever the featured Pokemon is. And it's the best event in Pokemon Go to get shinies with 1 in 25 shiny odds. Community Day events happen once per month, every month, and it is always worth playing. Tip 10. Friendship. 146,700,000. That's how much XP you can get from getting 450 friends from normal friends to best friends with lucky eggs. And that is why it is so important to add people onto your friends list, send gifts, do raids, do battles, and level up your friendship with them. And here's the math on all of this. Currently in Pokemon Go, you can have up to 450 people on your friends list. And there's a couple of key benefits that you unlock by prioritizing it. For starters, XP. Before lucky eggs, by the way, good friends gives you 3,000 XP. Great Friends, which takes 7 days, gives you 10,000 XP. Ultra Friends, which takes 30 days, gives you 50,000 XP. And Best Friends, which takes you 90 days, gives you 100,000 XP. And that's 90 days of daily interaction with someone, which is either sending and opening a gift, doing a raid together, or doing a battle together. You can also become lucky friends with one of your friends, and the only way to do that is by getting best friends with them and then just constantly interacting until you two hit lucky friends. It's kind of random. You can also get scatterbug encounters by people on your friends list because you have to send postcards and receive postcards from other people. Speaking of sending and receiving, you can get gifts from people in your friends list, which gives a ton of Stardust and a bunch of items like balls, like free Pokeballs, so super useful. And 7-kilometer eggs exclusively come from the gifts that you get from people on your friends list. And 7-kilometer eggs a lot of the time have exclusive hatches, and a lot of events will put exclusive Pokemon and new Pokemon in the 7-kilometer eggs, kind of like a recent event that we just had. And remote raids. Obviously, remote raids. You gotta have people on your friends list. There's a brand new feature as well that allows you to join the raids that your friends are in on your friends list. You just have to look at your friends list, have that like feature on, and you can join people's raids without having to get an invite, which is an insane feature. And if you want more people on your friends list, or if you want to find more people to raid with, again, Discord community linked in the description. Tip 11, Campfire. In-game, underneath the compass icon on the top right of your screen will be a little raid icon. That is Campfire, an app created by Niantic to make finding communities nearby you easier. And honestly, it's super helpful. If you're looking for a local community to meet up with, Campfire uses your location and shows you meetups scheduled around you. And the most useful thing is the raid map. You can use it to see active raids literally anywhere in the world, and this works for regular raids, Dynamax, Gigantamax, Shadow, everything. So on special raid days where there's like a boss that you're going for, like a legendary, this is very helpful. Or if there's like a specific raid boss that you're looking for, like Dynamax Charmander, this is super helpful. Tip 12, fast catching. Okay, most of us know how to do this. It's very easy to do, but if you don't know how to do this, you have to learn and you'll never play the same way again. For starters, encounter a Pokemon. We'll take this Carvana. All you do, okay, is you hold your finger down on the berry button, all right? And then you throw a Pokeball. Well, throw a Pokeball, swipe over and release your thumb, click out, and click the run. And then as you can see, I caught that Carvana and I skipped all of the like catch animation. This literally saves like several seconds per encounter, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like it makes catching way faster. We'll do this again with the Clamperl, which ran, so we're not gonna be able to do it. So I go plus it. Just kidding, it's gone. Mindfu, finger on the berry button, throw the ball, swipe the berry button over, release your thumb, click out, click run. I didn't catch it, but that's how you do it. I hatched this shiny, this is just a random flex. Hatched this today. Let's go. If you're not quick catching, start quick catching. Tip 13, go Battle League. One of the biggest problems every player has is Stardust. You simply just can't get enough of it. And technically the easiest way to solve this is by getting a Pokemon Go Plus or an auto catcher, which we'll talk about later in the video, and just having it auto catch Pokemon for you all day. Over time, you'll get a bunch of Stardust like this, but it is definitely not the most efficient way. Enter the Go Battle League, Pokemon Go's #1 way to farm Stardust. Depending on your rank, how many battles you won, if you're in the premium or the free track, the amount of Stardust that you can get from Go Battle League kind of changes. The reason why you win so much Stardust in the Go Battle League is because it costs a lot of Stardust to play in the Go Battle League. Because think about it, Pokemon are constantly changing, there's constantly new ones coming out, and the meta of Go Battle League is always shifting around. So you are always having to invest more Stardust into different Pokemon all the time. So you need a lot of Stardust to be able to compete in the Go Battle League, which is why it gives so much Stardust. But technically, you don't have to win in the Go Battle League to get a bunch of dust. You can simply just have like a team of 10 CP Pokemon and just lose every single battle, and you still get Stardust bonuses for doing that. Obviously, you get a lot more Stardust if you actually apply yourself and try and play, which is also fun to do. But if you want to just lay back and just farm some easy Stardust, this is a great way to do it. And at the end of every single season, there's like a big seasonal bonus reward, so you get like a huge bonus of Stardust at the end of every season, which is super awesome. So the higher you are in rank, the bigger your Stardust bonus will be. Also, side note, Pikachu Libre is one of the cooler and one of the rarest Pokemon, like costume Pokemon in the entire game. And the only way to get it is by reaching Legend rank in the Go Battle League, and then you get that encounter, and it can be shiny. So that is also something that's definitely worth hunting for out of the Go Battle League. And not to mention, it's the only way to get consistent free legendary encounters. Tip 14, Team Go Rocket. Once you reach level 8, you can officially battle against Team Go Rocket. And honestly, it's probably one of the best free features in the entire game. Team Go Rocket Grunts give you 500 Stardust for defeating and an encounter with a Shadow Pokemon, which we'll cover in the next tip. Also, as part of an update like a year or two ago, you can get Shadow Shiny Pokemon from regular Grunts. Like, you don't have to do the team leaders. But by battling Grunts, you get what's called Mysterious Components. After 6 Grunts, you get 6 Components, which gives you a Rocket Radar, which typically costs 200 items in the shop, or 200 Pokecoins in the shop. And then with the Rocket Radar, you can go out and battle team leaders, which give you even more Stardust, better encounters with Shadow Pokemon that all could be shiny, and 12-kilometer eggs, which have exclusive hatches inside and have the most Stardust per hatch out of any egg. Plus, Team Go Rocket includes Giovanni, who always has the new Shadow Legendary Pokemon that you can catch after defeating him. And a pro tip, if you use a Super Rocket Radar, which gives you Giovanni encounters, and you use the balloon encounter, it will always be Giovanni instead of going out and finding the ones at the Pokestops, because some of them are decoys, some of them are actually Giovanni. It can kind of be annoying to hunt those. So to guarantee yourself a Giovanni encounter, just use the balloon. But I will say, if the balloon like glitches or lags out, you can lose your Super Rocket Radar, so be careful. And also the decoy Grunts at the decoy Giovanni stops do have exclusive Shadow Pokemon that you can only get from decoys, so those are very cool to hunt too. Oh, and also when battling Team Go Rocket Grunts, there's this small 2-second delay. Basically, after every time a move is used, a shield is used, or a Pokemon is swapped, the Team Go Rocket Pokemon will stop attacking you for 2 seconds, which honestly is a really strategic thing to take advantage of if you do it right. And this all brings us to tip number 15, catch Shadow Pokemon. Not only do they look super cool, but they're some of the most meta-relevant Pokemon in the entire game. For both raid counters and the Go Battle League, multifaceted. And the reason why is because Shadow Pokemon do 20% more damage than non-Shadow Pokemon, but they also take 20% more damage, as in they are 20% weaker on defense. So they die faster, but they hit harder, which makes them super useful. Which is why it's always pretty good to stay up to date with the current Shadow Pokemon list, which ones are available in-game, because a lot of them are really worth grinding. Also, pro tip, you can typically tell which Shadow Pokemon a Grunt will have by the words the Grunt uses when encountering them. And now we also have Shadow Raids, which is an even better way to hunt Shadow Pokemon due to the IV floors being raised, because they're raids, which makes it much easier to catch higher IV Shadow Pokemon. Also, by purifying a Shadow Pokemon, it does give you +2 on each of the IVs, which means if you get a 13-13-13 Pokemon Shadow and purify it, it will become a 15-15-15 hundo. But pro tip, Shadow Pokemon are always stronger than purified or non-Shadow Pokemon, so even if you have a high IV Shadow, it's probably better to keep it as a Shadow than to purify it unless you want to. Tip 16, TMs. Did you know that you can check a Pokemon's entire available moveset by using an Elite TM? You just select the Pokemon, select the TM, and you can see every available move for it, including exclusive moves that you can only get with the Elite TM. Okay, so let me back up for a second. What is the difference between a TM and Elite TM? Quick crash course. Regular TMs allow you to change a Pokemon's move to whatever random move that it gives you out of that Pokemon's available move pool, where Elite TMs let you specifically choose which move you want, including legacy moves, aka moves that the Pokemon knows but can't currently learn, or can learn but can't currently learn, like Calm Day moves. You can get Elite TMs through paid research events during community days and other research-oriented events. Now, honestly, if there's ever a way that you find that you can get one for free from any research event, do the event, get the free one. So if you ever need room in your bag, feel free to dump regular TMs because you'll get them just passively by playing, but do not dump the Elite TMs because they're very valuable. Tip 17, field research. This is the single best free-to-play feature ever introduced into the game. You can complete simple in-game tasks that gives you XP, Stardust, helpful items like balls, Ultra Balls, Great Balls, and rewards with Pokemon. And the rewards with Pokemon, by the way, have boosted IVs because field research has a higher IV floor, so you have a higher likelihood of getting a 100% IV from field research than you do from the wild. And the best part is you could technically do an infinite amount of them. Every day you can do one field research task per Pokestop, so if you just have a bunch of Pokestops, you can just keep doing field research. And during a new day that resets, so you can get another task on the next day. Also too, pretty much every single event that comes to Pokemon Go, especially nowadays, always has special field research as part of it, whether it's special Pokemon encounters or special rewards. It's always in there. And there's a little trick that you can use that I call the field research stack. If you encounter a Pokemon from field research and then flee it, it goes into your stack, which is a smaller claim reward button in your today view with all of the encounters that you haven't caught yet. You can keep up to 100 Pokemon in this stack, and it is super useful. For example, let's say you need to hit 20 curveballs for some random thing that you're working on, and you have no Pokemon spawning around you. Well, no need to fear because you've got 20 Pokemon waiting for you in your field research stack that you can just use for that 20 Pokeball research or curveball research. And actually the most strategic way to use this is by basically encountering Pokemon in field research that give you extra Stardust like Trubbish and Shelder, and then keeping them in your field research stack until a 2x catch Stardust event comes around, dropping a star piece and then just catching your entire stack. Tip 18, in-game information. We covered this a little bit in the beginning of the video, but also very helpful is your Today tab. So under your field research, you have a few things like the Happening Now section, which shows you exactly what season we're in and the current active update, if any. Clicking on these will bring up the important event details of each, which is a must use, especially nowadays when we have a new event literally every week. This is the easiest way to keep up on all of it, for sure. You can also see how many Pokecoins you've earned, which Pokemon you have actively in gyms, in power spots, in showcases, and you can see your catch and spin streaks. And if you ever want to check on the most recent game-specific announcements, just click on the Pokeball, then the megaphone in the bottom right, then swipe over to News, and voila! All the recent major announcements and updates for Pokemon Go. Tip 19, free Pokecoins. There have been a million YouTube videos over the years on how to get free Pokecoins in Pokemon Go, and nowadays there's really only one real official strategy. Gyms. The gym system has sort of been useless over the years with the exception of some badges, Stardust gains, and the big one, free Pokecoins. The way that you earn them is by leaving a Pokemon in a gym. Every 10 minutes your Pokemon is in the gym, you'll earn one single Pokecoin, and you can earn a maximum of 50 throughout the day, each day. And the only way to collect those 50 Pokecoins is if your Pokemon gets knocked out of the gym, which kind of sucks. And even though 50 Pokecoins per day is like 50 cents per day, it does add up over time. And I will say Pokemon Go has definitely over the years been testing like a ton more new ideas on how to like give out free Pokecoins in Pokemon Go. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we see a better or more fun system introduced into the future. Tip 20, transfer bad Pokemon. It's insane to think that my storage goes up to 7,300 Pokemon. That's an insane amount. And I'm still constantly like right at the edge of that and constantly having to like transfer out Pokemon. It is the most annoying thing when you're out trying to catch Pokemon and like you can't because your inventory is full. Then you have to go through, transfer out a bunch of stuff. It wastes a ton of time. It's the worst during events like GoFest. So here's a quick guide on preventing that. Any Pokemon that isn't sentimental, super meta relevant, 100% IV, shiny, transfer it. Like don't even think about it, just transfer it. Get it out of here. And even Pokemon with high IVs, I personally only keep 100% IV Pokemon. Like I transfer 98s, I transfer 96s, like just get them out. And overall, it's just really easy to convince yourself to keep a Pokemon for like, you know what, I'm not gonna transfer it now, but like maybe tomorrow I'll transfer it if I still feel like I don't want it, or like in 10 minutes. But what happens, man, is that you play, right? You find some Pokemon, and then you're like, I'll transfer it later. And then you forget, and then you catch more Pokemon. Those Pokemon get buried, and then your storage gets filled, and you have to look through thousands of Pokemon to find the like 5 or 10 that you just decided to not transfer in the moment. Transfer them in the moment. And for this, the best tip that I could give is by creating a search string. This is the one that I use. And basically after, and I saved it, by the way, if you like do a search string and then you go into your recents and then you click and hold it, it pins it. And now every time I catch Pokemon, like whenever I'm either like Go Plusing or catching at the end of the day, I will just click this search string and just select all, transfer everything, which automatically filters out all the trash from the day. Tip 21, major events. Every year it seems like we have new major events and some that are taken away. So currently here are all the major Pokemon Go events to keep an eye out for. And if you're gonna come back and play a couple times a year, these events are the events to come back and play for. Tour events. The tour events happen in February every year, and there are 2 of them, an in-person one and a global one. These events highlight a certain generation, which means Pokemon from that generation are in the wild, in the raids, eggs, research, and we always get new releases like new shinies and a new mythical, or a new shiny mythical. The best one so far was the original Kanto Tour event, and honestly, each year they've kind of gotten worse, but they're still really fun events with huge bonuses and releases and a lot to hunt. City safaris. Back in the day, we used to have events called Safari Zones, which were massive in-person events around the world. Those have since gone away and were replaced by city safari events. These are exclusive weekend events that also happen in cities physically around the world and feature higher shiny rates, exclusive spawns, new releases, and 2 Pokemon you can only get at one of these events Go-Goat, and the Safari Hat Eevee. The event is typically playable throughout the entire city instead of a single park location, which is great, and overall, they're a really fun time to play. So if you see one coming to your city or one nearby, definitely consider it. Go Fest. This is Pokemon Go's longest standing major event. You can think of Go Fest as the Super Bowl for Pokemon Go. Every year in the summer, we have 4 major Go Fest events. In-person ones in Europe, America, and Japan, and 1 global one. These events are literally the best. Amazing spawns, shiny rates, huge legendary and mythical releases, crazy bonuses. They are absolutely the most fun events of the year and are a must play, especially if you can get out to an in-person one. Then the newest event we recently had was the Go Wild Area event, which introduced mighty Pokemon for the first time ever. This event felt like a mini Go Fest with some exclusive features like Safari Balls, and overall was a really fun time to play. And it actually had 2 versions, an in-person event in Japan and 1 global event. And personally, I really hope it comes back again every year because it was great. Tip 22, auto catchers. These are devices that automatically catch Pokemon for you. I've got a Pokemon Go Plus Plus. I use it every single day, all day long. We're literally right over there catching Pokemon as we speak. This is a Pokemon Go Plus Plus. All you do is just connect it to your phone and then connect it to your game and then go into your gameplay settings and just like tweak the settings to what you want. I have this thing spinning Pokestops for me and catching Pokemon for me with Pokeballs. And this is new with this one. You can use Ultra Balls and Great Balls on the auto catcher, but you have to physically press the button every single time you want it to catch with an Ultra Ball or a Great Ball. But if it's Pokeballs, it'll automatically catch for you. There's also other devices that you can use like the Gacha and some other ones, but like I always kind of just go with the official one. And I will say the worst part about this thing is that it vibrates and it's loud and you can't turn it off for some reason. Although there is actually a way that you can basically like unscrew the screws and prop it open and then cut one of the wires so it stops vibrating, so you can do that. But overall, these devices are super helpful and they're great for catching random shinies throughout the day and just like loading up on Stardust and XP. Tip 23, powering up Pokemon. As stated before, Stardust is one of the most useful and hard to get items and resources in the entire game. So when you spend it, you want to do it intelligently. My best advice, only power up Pokemon that are useful and that you plan on using. Like there's no sense in powering up the #1 bug type Pokemon and spending all of your Stardust on that because you're probably not going to use a bug type that often. But if a Pokemon is the best fire type or the best ground type, that might be worth your Stardust because you'll probably actually use it. Another tip is just don't power up bad IV Pokemon. I think a lot of people will power up Pokemon that have like 2 stars or 3 stars. But the problem is eventually you're going to catch a better version of that Pokemon. And once you do, you're going to want to power up the newer version of it, which means the older ones all kind of got Stardust wasted on them. Although I will say, if you like don't have a lot of great fire type Pokemon and you happen to catch a good one and you want to power it up, even though it's not perfect, that's totally fine, right? Like you want to maximize and optimize your team, but you don't want to waste dust while you do it. So basically just shoot for catching 100% or like 98% AV Pokemon and powering those guys up if they work for you. Also, Shadow Pokemon, much better obviously to power up since they're much more powerful, but they're also way more expensive to power up, especially when it comes to Stardust. So keep that in mind. And how do you know which Pokemon are the most meta relevant ones? For like PvE, so for raid bosses and like not Go Battle League, raid bosses and like Go Rocket encounters, Pokemon Go Hub's database will tell you what the best Pokemon by typing are. And if you want to learn what the best PvP Pokemon are by rank, a website called PvPoke is what I use. Tip 24, Shundo hunting. We all want them, they're the coolest things in the game. How do you get them? Okay, Shundo is a shiny 100% AV Pokemon. It is a perfect hundo. The cream of the crop, and it's really hard to do. Getting a Shundo in the wild or in eggs and raids is like nearly impossible, but there are a few tricks that can maximize your chances. First big one is field research days, and this is simply because on these special event days, which is typically like a 3-hour long event, there's like one Pokemon that is in every single field research encounter. It's gonna have boosted shiny rates, and since the IV floor is raised in field research, like standard, the likelihood that you get a 100% AV version of this field research Pokemon is pretty high. So match that with the boosted shiny rates and like you got a recipe for a Shundo. Same thing with raid days. There's raid weekend events that happen where like for 3 or 6 hours, a specific legendary or mega is in the raids and you can just raid the heck out of it. They boost the shiny rates to somewhere around 1 in 10 for a shiny, which is crazy. And again, with raids, the IVs are boosted because the raid floor is high. So the likelihood of you getting a Hundo is much higher from a raid, and then with the boosted shiny odds, Shundo City. But the number one best way to get a Shundo in Pokemon Go is lucky trades. And that's because lucky Pokemon have a really high IV floor, so high that, in fact, if you do a lucky trade, you have a 1 in 64 chance of getting a 100% AV Pokemon, which are crazy odds. So obviously, if you trade a shiny Pokemon in a lucky trade, that is a 1 in 64 chance at a Shundo, which is the highest odds in Pokemon Go. And that's why it's so important to prioritize friendship and use your lucky trinkets strategically. Tip 25, adventure effects. This is a newer feature and an absolutely fundamental one if you want to optimize your gameplay. Recently, I went through and tested each and every adventure effect in-game, and I'll leave that video linked in the description below. So watch that next to get the full picture. But basically, adventure effects are bonus features that you could turn on using specific Pokemon, and they help a ton. Like, for example, if you have an Origin Form Palkia with the move Spatial Rend, you can use that to double the Pokemon spawn radius, which is literally game-changing during Go Fest events, Community Day events, and spawn-related events. Or if you have the new Black Kyurem with the move Freeze Shock, you can use that, which makes Pokemon stay still during catch encounters and brings their catch rate up. These effects are pretty expensive to use since they require both Stardust and also like legendary candy, but during key events, they are literally game-changing, the best thing that you can do. And again, I'll leave that video linked in the description below. That is the 25 tips. I hope you found some value out of them, and I'll see you in the next video.